The worst of Hurricane Sandy might be behind us, but the cost of the damage it caused is only just being tallied. Tom Larson of EQECAT joins me now with more. Welcome, Tom. Now, give us your latest numbers. First, your estimate for insured loss, and second, economic loss.
Well, thank you, Fred. We're currently estimating insured losses paid by private insurers in the U.S. to be $5 to $10 billion. Underlying that is an economic damage estimate of $10 to $20 billion. We're currently reviewing that because the flooding down in southern Manhattan and flooding we've seen has sort of reached a tipping point in how the losses could be allocated.
All right, now, how do those losses, Tom, rank compared to past hurricanes?
It's certainly one of the strongest in the last few years. What we've seen, Hurricane Ike in 2008 was about $12 billion in insured losses. Hurricane Irene from last year was an order of about $6 billion. So these are a lot more severe, and certainly the damage is far more widespread, infecting almost 50 million people were affected by this event.
All right, so somewhere in the top 10. Now, you just mentioned the flooding in Manhattan here in New York. What factors do you see over the next few days that could possibly force you to raise your estimates?
Well, right now the reports are that all 7 of the tunnels going underneath the subway tunnels under the East River are flooded. And it's uncertain how long it'll take to restore service on all of those. That's going to be an exacerbating factor as we need to get a lot of workers in to repair, and we need to be able to get people back to work. And without those tunnels, it's really going to slow down the restoration and the resumption of economic activities.
Well, just what share of the estimated losses will be comprised of, made up by New York City alone?
Oh, a very large share. It's the largest concentration of the population, a lot where the people work and the GDP is produced. Right now, it's probably on the order of 30 to 40% of the overall losses will just be in the downtown New York City area.
And regionally, what states are suffering the most so far?
Well, the biggest states that are being impacted are obviously it's New Jersey. Hurricane Sandy went right over New Jersey. Then it's New York and Pennsylvania are taking the brunt of it, and they're responsible for probably 80% of the losses. But other states, down to Maryland and Connecticut, Massachusetts, they are going to be contributing. That we see a lot of loss being driven out of those areas as well.
You seemed especially concerned about the flooding of the subways in New York City. How much, Tom, of the economic damage will be due to flooding overall in this region versus wind or rain?
The damage, we're looking at it right now. A lot of the flooding that we've seen was in the areas that were designated by by FEMA as in flood-prone zones. In those areas, the homeowners have seen flooding in the past, and so for much of the flooding, we're in those areas of flooding that's been expected. It caused a lot of damage, and it's not clear how much of that insurance will go to private insurers, how much will go to FEMA and the National Flood Insurance Program. Last year from Hurricane Irene, it's estimated $1.3 billion of losses were ceded or paid out by the NFIP. We expect more from this event.
What about wind or rain damage?
The wind and rain damage is going to be quite extensive, extending fairly deep into Pennsylvania, to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and all the way down from the southern tip of Delmarva up into Massachusetts. It's broad and extensive. We've seen some of fires, the devastating fires, but the levels of tree damage are throughout as widespread, low levels of damage.
All right, you mentioned $5 to $10 billion in insured losses. Can insurers absorb these losses?
Well, certainly, if we look back at the past, we'd say yes. This pales in comparison to the $40 billion that was paid out in Hurricane Katrina. If we try to look at Hurricane Andrew from 1989 and try to sort of gross it up, inflate it for today's economy, Hurricane Andrew would have been closer to a $40 billion event. So the insurance industry is expected to be able to pay for something like this.
Any sense as to which insurers will be hardest hit?
Oh, it's very widespread, and it's unclear. There's no really good way to estimate which insurers would be hit. It should be fairly broad hit to all the P&C insurers, both the homeowners and specialty commercial insurers.
P&C being property and casualty. Thanks a lot, Tom. Appreciate it. Our thanks to EQECAT's Tom Larson. I'm Fred Kantayama, and this is Reuters.